Srácok, legyünk őszinték, van az a típusú színész és az a típusú karakter, az a vibe, akit ha meglátsz a képernyőn, akkor hátradőlsz és tudod, hogy hát itt gyerekek vagy vér fog folyni, vagy kislányokat és nőket kegyetlenül meg fognak verni így a kardlappal, tudod, tehát hogy így sejted, hogy ez a dolog lesz, nem nagyon kell cicomázni. Az a helyzet, hogy a csodálatos északíri Ian Beattie 5 évadon át alakította Sam Trentet a Trónok harcában, a király testőrség azt hiszem lovagiasabb lovagját, ebben talán egyetértetek. Hogy elképzeljük kisgyerekként ezt az archetipust, hogy egy lovagnak hogyan kellene viselkedni, ő fogta ezt a karaktert és tökéletesen lehozta az antitézisét, amire azt mondjuk mindannyian, hogy te jó ég, csak ilyen típusú ember ne legyen a szociális köreiben, a gyerekeim környezetében meg pláne nem. Ennyit szeretnék kérni csak a régi és az új istenektől, hogy ezekkel az arcokkal ne kelljen találkozni a valóságban. Abban a pillanatban, hogy színpadra lép, rájöttek majd, hogy viszont tipikusan ez az arc, aki ennek az ellenkezőjét hozza élőben, és nekünk most lesz lehetőségünk vele beszélgetni. Nagyon örülök, hogy itt vagytok, hogyha készen álltok, akkor arra kérlek, hogy robbantsuk fel ezt a jointot. Tényleg omoljon össze a gesztú akkor, amikor elmondhatjuk, hogy itt van velünk ez a csodálatos színész. Please welcome the dangerously charming Ian Beattie!
Hi, good morning.
Please enjoy this lovely fancy scenery.
Oh, listen, popcorn too. Popcorn, right.
Have some?
No, stop. I had a big breakfast, thank you.
So, having a quick look at your demeanor and character, what we quickly realize is that you are exactly the opposite of Sir Trent, right? Everything.
Thank God.
How do you get into a character that is so vicious and you can feel it deep inside your bone and marrow that this is just something that you don't want to represent out there, but when it's a scene, you're really good at representing?
Well, the funny thing about Sir Merlin was that certainly for the first 4 years, he was a coward, he was a thug, he was a bully, and he was great fun to play. I mean, it was really great fun playing a character like that with no redeeming features. But when we got to season 5, and in the last 2 episodes of season 5, you saw the private side of Sir Merlin.
And that somehow made the situation even worse.
That was awful. It was truly awful. And I think, as an actor, you want to make a character as 3-dimensional as you possibly can. You don't want it to be this, 2-dimensional villain, this 2-dimensional bad guy. You want to give him humanity, which makes him even more frightening. You want to see a person that you think, yeah, I've seen people like that before, I've seen monsters like that before. So the trick was really to make him as human as I could, especially for those last 2 episodes. It was great fun playing him up until those last 2 episodes. The last 2 episodes were tough. And of course, being a member of the Game of Thrones cast, the casting is wonderful. Every person, with the exception of Ed Sheeran, every single person that was cast in the show was perfect for the role. And of course, the 3 children that I beat with a stick, they couldn't have got 3 more beautiful angels. These gorgeous angels, lovely. So, yeah, it was quite difficult, especially those last 2 episodes.
Either looking at Game of Thrones or looking at Alexander, you had a chance to play in a fantastic opportunity to translate what is going on.
Thank you very much for that. Rock franchise, Sam. Viselkedése és szerepelteljesen ellentétes hozzá, amilyen
azaz, hogy kerül bele ebbe a szerepbe, hogy Páder föl írva
Good, yeah, sure.
az a helyzet, hogy meglehetett maximum kórház az első négy évadban, mert egy igazi gyáva kukacban semmilyen olyan képességét, olyan különösséget nem volt elkezdve. Ez egészen addig tart, amilyen elementünk az 5. évad utolsó 2 részéig, ahol megtaláltuk elméletét, ha úgy tetszik, és az ember, amikor egy karaktert próbál megalkotni, akkor megérzik, hogy mindenféleképpen minél teljesebben állatomozását tenni, hogy aki nézi a tévéműsorokat, akkor azt érezze, hogy igen, találkoztam, láttam meg a úgyhogy az utolsó 2 részén nagyon jó munka volt, rendszerűen utána viszont borzasztó, de ugyanakkor a Trónok harca stábban tökéletes volt, egy sínre kivitelőben, méghozzá azért, mert azt a 3 kitőket, akiket szegényeket meg kellett lehetni a szerepem szerint, ők csodálatos, gyönyörű, ügyétű csajták voltak.
So, thank you, Attila. Sorry, guys. So, you had the chance to play in either real or fictional settings that are just absolutely bloody and brutal in contrast to this wonderful civilization that we had a chance to live in. What is the number one thing that you ever think about, the human condition, the human nature? Was there anything that you had a chance to learn by doing any sort of a research? Is there anything that comes to mind? Can you appreciate modern ages more because you had a chance to dress up like that, to act like that? What do you have when you look at ancient times?
I've been very, very lucky in terms of my career that I have, on more than one occasion, Alexander, also several shows for the History Channel, where I was in ancient Rome or ancient Greece. And I believe in doing research, especially if I'm playing a real character as opposed to a fictional character. And there's no doubt about it, I think we live in an age today where we've never had so good. I think, you know, in these medieval times, in the times of Alexander, in the time that Game of Thrones was set, because it's obviously set in a medieval place. I think life was nasty, brutish, and short. I think it was a lot tougher. We take for granted today, I think, just how good we have it, how good life is, you know, I mean, a crisis today is if you lose your mobile phone. So, yeah, no, they were tougher times. They were tougher times. And I think so many of the characters I've played in that era were informed by one single factor: survival. Survive, and you fight to survive, you kill to survive, but survival was the big word that I don't think applies today.
Rengeteg véres, brutális karaktert játszottak a karrier során. Van-e valami, amit megtanult az emberi természetben? Igen, nagyon szerencsésnek érzem magam ennek kapcsolatban, hiszen rengeteg valós életbeli karaktert is játszottam a Nagysátornál, a Bolygómában, a History Channel műsoraiban, a Magyarországon is. És hiszek abban, hogy főleg a valós karaktert játszóak, utána ezek után mutatok. És azt gondolom, hogy a legfontosabb dolog az, hogy sosem nem vagyok mostanában. Az összes karaktert, amit eljátszottam valaha, mindenkit egy célhoz adottam, és harcolj, ölj, pusztítsd a hőmérséget, de a tudások a legfontosabb. Már a mai világban ez már nem igaz.
Do you have any sort of a ritual before you get into a character that is so primal and so brutal? Is there anything about your methodology that is like a concrete thing that you go back to over and over again?
I think, you know, if you're playing a real life character, obviously there's the historical research. But for a character like Sir Meryn Trant, obviously I never read the books, and I still haven't read the books. And I'm not going to read the books until he releases Winds of Winter. Hurry up. Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Hurry up. Get a move.
14 years, was it?
Oh, I know. Far too long. But, and I have all the books, and I will start reading them when he releases Winds of Winter. But I did do the research on the character, Sir Merrin. Anything that anybody said about him, I read pieces where he was there, he was acting or reacting. So I had a rough idea of the character. Then David and Dan, the showrunners, they sort of amalgamated a couple of other characters into my character. So that was brought into my character as well. But from all I read, and from everything that people said about the character in the books, I didn't have too much to go on. But I did get the feeling that Sir Merrin was arrogant. I get the feeling that he really probably shouldn't have been a King's Guard. He certainly wasn't honourable enough to be a King's Guard. So that informed my take on the character. And the first thing was to get the look. And the look I always felt Sir Merrin had. I felt Sir Merrin would look down his nose at people and look at them as if they're dirt on the ground to hide his own inadequacies. And that's where the kind of the Sir Merrin look came from. And once I got the look, then the voice slightly sneering. This wasn't the first time the imp threatened the king. So that's where that came from, and it seemed to be quite effective. It seemed to work.
Van olyan kokintól nézni, viszonylag miatt jegyzett karakter. Nos, a helyzet az, hogy Sörmerinnel kapcsolatban nem volt sok minden tudathattam, főleg azért, hogy nem olvastam a könyveket, mint a Finternél. Szóval David és Dan a sorozatnak azt mondták meg, hogy a karakter is néhány másik szereplőt is beolvasztottak az enyémben, hogy ezzel tudtam foglalkozni. Viszonylag gyorsan rájöttem arra, hogy arrogáns, hogy nézi az embereket azért, hogy ezzel elrejtsen a saját hiányosságait. És ezután jött a hang, ami kicsit súlyoskodó, és amikor ez megvan, ez a karakter is készen áll.
So, what I really love about your performance is like, I think it mostly the eyebrows. It's like you became this targeting computer. You start looking at them and be like, I'm gonna get you. And then I'm like, I wanna get out of here. I need to escape this situation because the Merrin is just gonna get me, right? How did the performance and getting into character change while the show was getting bigger and just, you know, bigger?
I mean, I think the character that I formed didn't change. I remember I got the most amazing, like literally mind-blowing compliment. We were out in San Francisco for the season 5 premiere of Game of Thrones, and George Martin was there, and I hadn't met George. He hadn't just happened to be on set the times I was on set for 5 years. So this was the first time I'd met George. And he said to me, you know, I look at Sir Merrin a little differently now that you're playing him. And I was like, oh my God, did I just hear that?
That's that's a big one.
That was the biggest, most huge compliment. That I was obviously doing something right. I was obviously doing something right with the character. And he also told me a couple of other things about the character. Because the character is still alive in the books. Sir Merrin is still alive at the end of book 5.
Can we get that satisfaction that we got in the show?
Well, he told me a couple of things, so I'm afraid I can't divulge anything else. But yeah, no, Sir Merrin's still alive in the books. So it was such a privilege to be part of this TV show. You were working with the best. the best cast, the best crew, the best producers, the best directors. Oh my God, the directors. So, and you knew by season 3, you know, we knew this is big. By season 4, it was the biggest television show in the world. You couldn't go anywhere, you know, literally, and even, because my character wasn't a main character, he was in, you know, some of the episodes, but not every single episode. But even for me, I couldn't go anywhere without getting that recognition. And it was lovely because I'd be walking through an airport and somebody would be like, you know, and they wouldn't know who I was. They hadn't quite worked it out who I was, but they knew they didn't like me. It's like, yeah, you're FBI's most wanted, aren't you? That was good fun.
Szóval változott a karakter ábrázolása, ahogy tudom, harcolni nagyon volt. A helyzet az, hogy a legnagyobb módot valaha az utóbbi években ilyen szakmasztoskodót kaptam, ahol életemben először találkoztam George Martindal, aki azt mondta, hogy tudod, amióta te játszol, mert egy kicsit másképp nézek rá, ami azt hiszem, hogy a legnagyobb módot kaphatok. És utána még oda néhány dolgot, amit nem beszéltek vele ezekben, mert így a könyvekben még él, hogy tudod, történik vele. Viszont a helyzet az, hogy a show gyakorlatilag a legjobb producereket, a legjobb soránát, a legjobb rendezőket alkalmazta, ezt már tudtuk a harmadik évadban, és még a negyedik évadban azért tudtuk a legjobb alapat. Úgyhogy a legjobb munka az volt, amikor projekteket kiszóltak, és tudták, hogy ki vagyok, hogy azok a szeretnek.
So we're gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna imagine that we are at Tyrion's trial. Okay, you folks are enjoying the trial as, for some reason, noblemen back in the day really enjoyed. Maybe it's still the same nowadays. I don't know. Somehow people love to see catastrophic stuff. So you were there, you were witnessing, and here comes the man.
Interesting story. Tyrion's trial took 4 days. The film, 4 days. The first day, I was giving evidence against Tyrion, and I couldn't get one word right. And you know, you don't change words in the script. The script is solid gold. You have to say it exactly as it's written down, and I couldn't get it. And it was the most embarrassing day of my career, because I was fluffing it again and again and again and again. And Alex Sakharov, the director, came up and said, look, we've got, you know, this is the long. I said, when are we doing the close-up? Because the close-up is mostly what they use for the final cut. So when are we doing the close-up? He said, we're doing it Thursday. And I said to him, I am going to get this word perfect on Thursday. And when I'm 90, I will be word perfect. I will never forget it again. And to prove that, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. This wasn't the first time the imp threatened the king. Right here in this throne room, he marched up those steps, called our king a half-wit, compared his grace to the mad king, and suggested he meet the same fate. And when I spoke in the king's defense, he threatened to have me killed. Bring me back when I'm 90. Word for word, I'll get it right.
I know that you're really open about all the different aspects of the show and the experience that you had. So we still have 15 minutes. It would be really nice to give these wonderful people, the wonderful people of Budapest and Hungary, some juicy thing about production, about stuff that you just went through and experienced.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, by season 4, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of the show. I love the show as much as anybody I've ever met. I've seen the whole series about 4 times. I've seen Battle of the Bastards 10 times. So I am a huge fan of the show. And both myself and, quite frankly, several other actors, when we went on set at the start of season 4, I would tell everybody I met, don't tell me what your characters have, what's happening. I don't want to know. And I actually said to the production office, I said, just send me my scenes. Don't send me the script. Just my scenes. I don't want to know. 5 months of filming. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. We're filming on the 23rd of December. It's the last day of filming. I'm doing the scene with Nikolai, Jamie Lannister, and Jack Joffrey. And we're in the Kingsguard room where Joffrey's slagging off his uncle stroke father about not having much in the Kingsguard book. We finish that scene, I go outside. That's me wrapped for the season. Having a cigarette. And Charles Dance walks up to me. And he's in a dressing gown. He's in a robe. Oh, hello. Hello, Charles. Give me a cigarette. Okay, there you go. Help yourself, mate. You think you're making so much money you can afford your own bloody cigarettes? Yeah, there you go. He says, light. I said, you know, I'm not a real fucking Kingsguard, Charles, just let you know. Okay, there you go. He takes a big puff, this robe, this dressing gown, he says, well, he says, the little bastard finally killed me. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Thank you, Charles, I'm glad you're fucking dead.
So what do you think of it? So many times with public timings, like this. So yeah, azt szeretném mondani, hogy van-e valami finom, izgalmas részlet a műsorfogadásról?
I've got another story.
There you go. Szóval, hogy amikor a negyedén az értek, akkor azt mondta a mondás, hogy neki nem mondja el senki semmit, amit kivel történik, csak a saját lelkét akarna hallani és látni. Így aztán, amikor december 26-án végzett a negyedik évad forgatásával, kiment a stúdió belé dohányozni, megjelent Charles Dance-et csodálatos ruhában, tüzet és cigit kért tőle, mondta meg, hogy Charles nem vagyok valójában a gárda tagja, majd Charles Dance szívatott és mondta, hogy azt mondta, nem, a kis vagyunk végre megölött. Köszönöm szépen.
I think you should just roll out the next one.
Yes, this is a story. I was not on set for this because it was season 6. It was Battle of the Bastards. Miguel Sapochnik was the director of Battle of the Bastards. And they'd set aside, I can't remember whether it was 12 or 14 days to film the battle. And you know, from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. But they were running out of time. And it's a very, you know, it's a very on-the-spot schedule. Get it done, get it done, get it done. But they were running out of time. And they found out, basically, they didn't have time to film what was in the script. I heard this story, by the way, from Kit Harington. So they didn't have time to film what was in the script. And they're talking about it. Literally, that morning, they're about to start shooting. And David and Dan are going, I don't think we're going to get this done. We're going to go over, we're going to have to come back, or, you know, I don't think we're going to get this done. And Miguel came up with the idea that morning, the morning they filmed it, he said, I have an idea. Give me a crane, put a camera on the crane, pointing downwards, and we suffocate Jon Snow. And that was thought up on the day. That wonderful bit of the battle when he's getting crushed and he can't breathe, and we can't breathe. Watching it, we're like, that was thought up on the day. That was made up on the day by the director. So, that's a good one.
A másik történet talán még kizárjuk George megfogalmazását, a hatodik évadnak a faktor csalája epizódot, amit egyébként tiszteláltam. A forgatás 12-11 napig tartott egy héttől este hétig, és úgy tűnt az lett a végén, hogy nem volt idő leforgatni azt, amit nem volt forgatni rajta. És még ez a rendező jött el az ötlettel, hogy akkor azt mondom, hogy forgatni kellett azt mondatban, hogy tegyenek egy kamerát a darabra, amit lefelé mutat, és nézzük meg azt, hogy Johnson azt mondta, hogy éppen megfogad. Ezt azt adom el.
All right, everybody. Any questions from the audience? All right, right there. Who's doing the run-up to the member of the audience? Is it gonna be? Do we have another mic? You're gonna take my mic? What's the plan? We just surprised every member of the staff about it. Everybody's super, yes. Lady in the front, in the white shirt.
Nice. What about feeling in the Game of Thrones series?
Could you repeat it?
Okay, what about feeling in the Game of Thrones series in the casting?
Casting experience.
Well, I auditioned actually for a different role whenever season 1 came out. I auditioned for Jory Castell, Ned Stark's right-hand man, and I didn't get it, obviously, and I was furious. I lived in Belfast. They were filming the show in Belfast. They didn't need to fly me over. They didn't need to get me a hotel. They were going to save themselves a fortune. And I was so angry that I didn't get the role because I felt I'd done a pretty good audition. And then they called me back for Sir Merlin, and I got it. And the funny thing was, Jory Castell died in season 1, episode 5, knifed in the eye by Jamie Lannister. I got 5 more years and I got knifed in both eyes by Arya Stark, so I got lucky. I do think as well that the actor who was cast as Jory Castell out of JBC, he was fantastic. He was perfect for the role. So they didn't tend to make mistakes when casting the show. And if you watch the show now, I mean, nobody else could play Tywin Lannister apart from Charles Dance. Nobody. You couldn't think of anybody stepping into that role. Nobody could play Cersei apart from Lena. Nobody could play the Imp apart from Dinklage. You couldn't see anybody else in the role. And the casting was not good, apart from Ed Sheeran.
Thank you.
Quick translation and the next question.
Szóval a stábbal kapcsolatos kérdések hangzott el, és az a helyzet, hogy én először Jory-Castell szerepére meghallgatásot azt nem kapta meg. Ami még nagyon dühös volt, mert Belfastban forgattak, hogy Belfastban értem kellett volna szállat, mert nagyon érdekes volt, aztán végül visszahívtak szerepére, ahol ezt megkapott. És tulajdonképpen elég jobb volt, mivel Jory-Castell az első adott egy évadában, mert a részemben meghallott a késnapos személyre Jane Lannisterről, így kapott még 5 évet, és minden 2 évben volt egy kést a Starkban. De a helyzet az, hogy aki játszott a Joryt, illetve Tywin, Cersei-t vagy Tyriont, mindenki tökéletes választásban szerepel. Kivéve egy Sheeran.
Okay, next question.
Hello.
Jó hangosan, így nagyon közel kell venni, és így jó hangosan.
Én nem akkor rólok arcával kérdeznék, hanem egy másik kultikus filmben, amiben ilyen játszott, a szürkamilyonosok, Space Trackers, amiben egy elég különleges jelmezt visel. Az érdekelne, hogy milyen érzés volt ebben a jelmezben játszani, meg mit gondolt a forgatókönyvről, amikor annól elolvastál?
So the question is, what you were thinking about Space Truckers, where you had to play a role in a really special costume. What was it like? What did it feel like? And what did you think about the script?
Are you catching it? Space Truckers, yes. And the costume, the special costume.
Space Truckers was without a shadow of a doubt the worst fucking job I've ever done.
A legrosszabb, mint amit valaha nézem.
Let me tell you why. I auditioned for Space Truckers, got a part, no script, but I figured, if you blink, you'll miss me. I'm wearing a helmet, you would recognize me anyway. And they changed the shooting schedule on Space Truckers. We were supposed to film it in like April, the scenes that we were in. And funny enough, that was the first time I met and worked with Charles Dance on that scene. While the earlier part of the movie was filming, I auditioned for another role in another film called Some Other Stuff. And I got the part. And it was 2 scenes with Dame Helen Mirren. And they changed the shooting schedule on Space Truckers. And I couldn't do the other film with Helen Mirren. And the 2 days that I was supposed to be filming with Helen Mirren, I was on the set of Space Truckers and I was in my dressing room all day! Both days. Wasn't used. So I don't have the fondest memory of Space Truckers. And it's a state, if you blink you'll miss it. It was big production, but that particular scene, it was all about the gunfire, it was all about people dying. I don't even think I got a close-up, which was disappointing. So, yeah, Space Truckers isn't one for the I love me wall.
Okay. Szóval én nézett a kamionosokkal, a legrosszabb szerepet valaha játszani, és több okból is. Amikor elvállaltam egy meghallgatást és megkapta a szerepet, akkor tulajdonképpen nem volt forgatókönyv területen, hogy majd ezt valami. Áprilisban forgatunk, egyébként ez volt az első film, amiben először játszottam Charles Dance-szel. És közben, miközben a forgatást várott a film korai részére, mentem egy másik meghallgatásra, egy másik filmre, aminek az a címe Some Other Stuff, ahol két napot forgatnak volna a jelenben. De közben az önkamionosoknál megváltozott a forgatási sorrend, életek sorrendje, így aztán azt a 2 napot, amit jelenben töltöttem volna, az önkamionosok forgatását töltöttem, egy 10 nap az öltözőben, és nem akkor használtam fel. Mindezt azért, mert tulajdonképpen egy szent pillanatnyi szerepel van, és az egész jelenet az emberek haláláról, meg földözésről szól. Nem mondom finoman, az önkamionosok nem világában szólnak.
We're gonna have Dean Charles Chapman on stage later on. You know, any heartfelt message to him?
No. I have to say, Dean, when you hear him, again, like many of us, he is so unlike his character. He's basically from London, all a company, mate. And he's the loveliest kid. Whenever I first met Dean, when the kids were working on Game of Thrones, you always knew when they turned 18. Because when they turned 18, you'd see them there at the bar, cigarette in hand, no parents. Up until then, they would have had their families with them. And I had the great pleasure of meeting Dean with his family, with his mum, his dad, his brothers, and just the loveliest people. So down to earth. You're going to enjoy chatting with Dean. He's a lovely guy. and a great actor.
Where we
And
should...
I think one of only 2 actors that had 2 different roles in Game of Thrones. Big Ian White, who played the Hound one season, played one the Giant, played one of the White Walkers. I think Ian played about 4 or 5 parts, but Dean played 2 roles. He was a Lannister cousin who was killed, and then he was Tom.
What a great honor. And a great honor was to have you on stage, and thank you so much. Let's see it for the man. What an absolute pleasure.
Lovely to see. Here all day. If anybody has, any questions for me later, I'm not sure where I'm sitting, but please come up to me and ask me. I'm always delighted to answer any questions. Thank you very much.